Bonsoir, bienvenue, welcome. Hi, welcome. So, today I'm going to share a time with Hayden Paul. I'm going to add him here. Okay. Bonsoir. Hi.
Hello.
Hello, Hayden. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited to talk to you.
I'm excited to talk to you too. I think we're gonna have a good discussion. And I wanted to. How do you pronounce your name in French?
Anne-Claire.
Anne-Claire.
Anne-Claire. Yeah.
And then Mere.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's it.
Anne-Claire Mere.
Yes.
I don't speak any French, but I speak Hungarian, but that's not very useful.
No, it won't be very useful today.
No, it won't.
It's all good. As we talked together last week, I told you that most of the people who follow me are French speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So I will afterwards put our video on YouTube with subtitles.
Okay.
So then it will be great for people who don't speak great English, but also we can be careful today to not speak too fast. So then people who do understand English will not be lost if we're not too fast.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you. So first of all, I'd like to thank you very much for your time and for your presence here today, for sharing with us. It's a very important topic. It's the first time that I talk about something like that. I mean, I've made stories, but I've never really dived deeper into it. So it's new for my audience. I understand that it's not an easy topic to address, but a lot of people don't want to talk about it or don't want to hear about it. Although I think it's important to shine some light on it, and we'll talk about it more. I would like to know how you got into it. What happened in your life so that you started to work with Underground Railroad? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. That's a good question. You know, growing up, it was never something that I ever thought I would be a part of. Actually, I never even heard about human trafficking until 2018, in November. And I was actually scrolling on Instagram and I saw an advertisement for Operation Underground Railroad. And I clicked on it, and that's the first time that I really learned about human trafficking. And I heard numbers like 40 million people, an estimated 40 million people are victims of human trafficking globally. And that 10 million of those are children. And that around 2 million of those are children who are being trafficked for sex. And I remember when I heard those, I couldn't believe it. It really shocked me. And, you know, the thing that's hard though about stats, one thing that I will say is that, you know, it's impossible to know really how many people are being affected by human trafficking, because it's not like slavery, you know, in the 18th or the 19th century, where it was documented and it was legal. But thank goodness it is illegal, but that makes it so it's underground, so we can't see it, and so it's hidden. And so it really is difficult to know. But I remember this affected me so much, and I started donating to Operation Underground Railroad, just trying to play my small part in stopping human trafficking. But eventually, as I read more books and as I learned more about the problem, I knew I had to get involved. And so I started off as a volunteer for Operation Underground Railroad. And eventually I was given the opportunity to make this a full-time mission in my life. And it's something that I'm very proud to be a part of. And we'll talk about why I'm proud to be a part of it.
It's beautiful. Thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last year, as just like a lot of people, I was into lockdown, and I had more time to do some research online. And a lot of things came up about human trafficking, a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's that before I was so busy with my life and I was so unaware and not curious about those things that I was completely blind. I mean, I knew it existed, but I didn't know it was so big like you before. And do you know if something happened last year? Was there a lot of more people sharing about it? Because I think a lot of people got more awareness last year about it too.
Yeah, last year there was a big kind of, I guess, uprising about human trafficking. There were, some things where people thought human trafficking was happening, and it made the news. And, it's hard to know what claims are true and which claims aren't. But, human trafficking has been happening for years. And it's so great that finally people are opening their eyes to it. And so, yeah, 2020 was a huge year in terms of awareness of human trafficking. And, maybe one part of it is that people were stuck at home and they had a lot more time to kind of, think about those things. And, the internet is a crazy place where one person can post something and it can be shared with millions and millions of people. And so, and it's interesting, and we'll talk about this more. The internet is very effective in spreading the message and awareness about human trafficking and doing good to stop human trafficking. But it's also one of the main, resources for traffickers to be able to actually traffic people through the internet, through social media and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But yeah, last year was a big awakening, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah. I'm going to translate for you something that someone wrote in the chat. She said that there is also much more light in the world because there has been a lot of healing. I'm part of a conscious healing communities, and there's more and more healing. And as there is more light, there is also more ability to see the darkness because there is the balance, and we can put it up and we can finally see it. Yeah. It's like we can hold space for this finally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, can you explain what Operation Underground Railroad does?
Yes, of course. So, we are a not-for-profit company, and our mission is simply to rescue people out of situations where they're being trafficked and exploited. And then providing them with aftercare services so that they can find hope and healing. The way that we do this is we work with local law enforcement. So here in the United States, we act as a support and provide resources for law enforcement to run operations to rescue. And internationally, it's a little bit more hands-on, and we'll actually go undercover and help with the investigations internationally. But in every aspect, we're not a vigilante group. We're not going around and, trying to rescue kids by ourselves, but we work with local law enforcement and really just try to multiply the awesome work that they're already doing. And then to speak a little bit about our aftercare, we have these awesome aftercare partners who we have vetted in the areas where we do operations. And so it's not that a kid gets rescued in Guatemala and then we take them to America for aftercare. No, we want them to, because they're from those countries and there's awesome aftercare services in their countries. And so our job is to find a place that is culturally relevant to the survivor. So we're not taking them out of a place and putting them in a whole new place that is going to be shocking for them, but a place that is comfortable and is, has their culture as a part of it. And then we support them by providing mental health services, medical services, education, so scholarships to go to school, as well as vocational training to teach them how to make money for themselves in a positive way that is not going to exploit them. Because we understand that rescuing someone out of a human trafficking situation is only step one. But if you don't provide them with tools to be able to, have a positive life and to provide for themselves, then they will probably end up in a situation of exploitation once again. And so that's our number one mission, is to empower them to go forward and bring light to the world, and to, take care of themselves and their families.
It's wonderful. So it started in the US,
Mm-hmm.
and then you created some other units?
Yeah, so we're based out of Utah, but we have, for example, we have a full-time team in Thailand, of, of individuals who are constantly running operations with the Thai Royal Police, which is like their equivalent of the FBI, and they're always running operations with them. And it seems like almost every week that there's rescues happening, and
Yeah.
people being rescued from human trafficking. And, our team that is based in Utah will travel, and we've worked in 29 countries, and in over 29 states here domestically in the United States. So, yeah, our reach is growing, and we're grateful for that, because human trafficking is a global problem, and there needs to be a global solution. And really, what we do as an organization is we try to act as like a liaison, or someone who can, coordinate between countries, and help survivors to be able to, return home. So it can be very complicated when someone is trafficked, because what happens a lot of the time is people are trafficked under the cover that they're going to a foreign country to work and to find a new job. And then when they get to that country, then a lot of times their passports are taken from them, and they are forced into labor slavery, and sex slavery. And so what happens is that they're in a foreign country where they don't speak the language many times, and they also don't have a passport to prove who they are or where they are from. So because of that, in order for them to be able to go back home, there is a lot of coordination that needs to happen. And many times, especially with third world governments, that coordination just won't happen. And so OUR, what we can do is we can act as that middle man that can coordinate between the two governments to get the person a passport, get them out of the situation, fly them home, and then provide them with aftercare services in their home country. And so really, it's amazing to see the impact that can be made when we just work together in a public and private partnership like that.
Yeah. I really love how you share the stories on social media and on the website, that we can really see where the money goes, and how many people you've helped last year, and the stories of the children. And not only the children, because it was, you started with the children, but actually you're helping all human beings being trafficked. It's not only children.
Exactly. And we've expanded our mission, because what happens is, obviously our mission started with children, but children only make up 1/4, like one fourth of the trafficking victims in the world. And the majority are women who are over the age of 18. And so in our search for children that are being trafficked, we've always found women, as well as men. And so we've kind of included that in our mission, that instead of, obviously we're still looking for children that are being trafficked, but we are also, if we ever, find anything about anyone being trafficked, it doesn't matter how old you are, then we are going to help. And that is our mission. But yeah, I have a story of a survivor that I'd love to share with you guys.
Yeah, please.
So this survivor, I can't share exactly where she's from. I can, and I'm not going to share her exact name, but we call her Sabrina. That's the name we call her by. And Sabrina grew up in Central America. And unfortunately, at a very young age, She was exploited, abused sexually, and videos of that sexual abuse were recorded and shared online. And by the time she was 7 years old, OUR operators, so people that work for OUR, as well as the local police, were able to find these videos online and locate where she was. And so this poor 7-year-old girl was being abused, or sorry, she was 8 years old. That's my fault. She was 8 years old, was being abused, and people were selling these videos online of her sexual abuse. So we were able to luckily extract her from that situation and take her to an aftercare home, as well as arrest her traffickers. So, you know, like we said, she was rescued, but a lot of times what happens is, in order to make sure that the perpetrator, the predator, goes to jail, the victim has to go and testify in court about what was done to them, so that there can be a prosecution. And you know, sometimes this can be very traumatic, because a victim has to go and they have to be in front of the trafficker, and they have to recount all of the terrible things that happened to them. So sometimes it's just too much, and we try to find out other ways for the survivor to not have to testify in that way, because it can be so traumatic. But when this idea was brought up to Sabrina, this brave 8-year-old girl, she said that she wanted to go and testify because she didn't want that man to hurt any more little girls. And so courageously, Sabrina walked into the courtroom and gave her testimony about all the bad things that happened to her. And it's amazing, because with her testimony, and also with her working with the police, they were able to identify 2 more girls who had been abused, ages, I believe, 10, 12, and 13. And also 2 more American pedophiles who had abused those girls, and they were arrested and prosecuted as well. And so it was, we call her Sabrina, we call her Little Wonder Woman, because she's a superhero. Her courage allowed for those girls to be rescued, and for those men to be put away in jail. And now she's sharing the aftercare home with those other girls, and they're finding hope and healing together. And little 8-year-old Sabrina, you know, she isn't the only story out there. Not every story is like Sabrina's. Some of them are more tragic. Some of them, they're all different. But it's important because, you know, Operation Underground Railroad, we've assisted in the rescue of over 4,500 survivors of human trafficking. And when we say big numbers like that, sometimes we forget that they're made up of individual human lives. That's 4,500 Sabrinas, in a sense. And we always want to remember that our work is about the one person. And if all of the money that that has been raised, and if all of our efforts have only resulted in just Sabrina's rescue, in one rescue, it all would have been worth it. Because that's our belief, that every single human life is valuable, and that all humans deserve to be treated with dignity, love, and respect.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's amazing how we can do so much for all the little Sabrinas in the world, that we can really make a difference. We've seen how solidarity was moving us last year. We all stopped everything because we thought there was a big threat. And we could see that it's possible to make a change when we decided.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, people, it's crazy. It's like if it was your child or someone you loved that was being exploited like this, you would want the whole world to stop just for that one person. And the fact that there's an estimated 40 million people that are being exploited this way, it's like if we can band together and all collectively, you know, wear masks for a year and social distance and quarantine because of something that, you know, can hurt people, then why we should still be able to have that sort of, that fire within us to fight against something like human trafficking. And that's something that I think we need more of. We need people to not be okay with human trafficking and to stand up and to show that they're not going to stand for it and they're going to do something about it.
Yeah. Why do you think there is shyness about it? Why do you think people are not standing up?
Well, it's a very ugly subject. People don't like to hear about it. I mean, it's the worst part of humanity. But if we don't look at it and if it stays in the dark, then it's going to continue to grow. And, it takes courage to be able to look at it and to say, I'm going to do something about it. And it's a lot of people, they feel discouraged because it's such a big problem. And what are they supposed to do about it? Well, I think you are a perfect example of doing something. Sometimes all we can do is, talk about it, and spread awareness about it. And, if we look at history and about, the slave trade that happened in the 19th century, 18th and 19th century, the way that it was abolished was by people telling the story about slavery and saying, look at it. Because what happened was, not everyone owned slaves. I live in the United States, and so I only know the statistics for the United States. But at its height, at slavery's height, anywhere between 3 to 5% of people owned slaves. So the average person didn't own slaves. And the majority of those slaves were in the southern United States. And so if you lived in the North, you knew that slavery existed, just like everyone knows that human trafficking exists, but you never saw it for what it truly was. You never saw the ugly side of slavery, the scars, the abuse, the death. But when people started to tell the story about slavery and people started to see it for what it was, that is what changed the public's perception and led to the abolition of slavery. And right now you are doing that. You understand that you have a network and you have people that you have influence over, and you're using that network and that influence to raise awareness, and even to raise money for an organization that's trying to stop human trafficking. And so that's really what it's going to take. It's going to take courage to look at it, and then it's going to take action to raise your voice about it and to do something.
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes, when I look at social media, I think maybe I should just go live in the woods and stop doing what I do in this way. And then I think this is such a beautiful also way to reach people and touch their hearts. Mm-hmm. It's not only social media is not only superficial stuff and selling watches, like so many influencers are just wearing jewelry and trying to sell stuff to people. It's just, sometimes I think, where are we going as human beings? That we can use our voices and we can use our networks and we can use those beautiful connections that we can make through those tools to actually make a change. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we forget how powerful we are in terms of being able to make a change. Mm-hmm. You're doing it every day. Yeah. Like every one of us can do it.
And Claire, how did you hear about Operation Underground Railroad? I know you told me, but I think it's a good thing to share with people listening.
Yeah, I saw something. So I was diving into a lot of dark stuff last year. And at some point there was a video of Tony Robbins that he shared about raising money So it was about a woman who wanted to make more money, and then he was diving deeper. Why do you want more money? And she said, I want more money because I want to help more people. I want to help with Operation Underground Railroad. And then he heard of it, and then himself, he joined it. He did some operations, and it was beautiful to see him. He's such a big guy, strong guy. And he was crying, and he was sharing the story. And that was so, yeah, my heart melted, and I felt, yeah, I want to make a difference too. I'm a coach too. And I want to help people be empowered.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And everything that is disempowering, I don't want that in our lives. I want every human being to be empowered to create the lives they want. And we can't continue living that way. So when I saw that, then I started to follow the operations. I was watching videos with Tim Ballard, which is the founder. And then I decided to donate. It was so obvious to me. What can I do? I mean, I'm not like you. We haven't met in person, but I'm like pretty short woman. And I'm like, I'm not going to go outside and like, you know, try to rescue people myself. So it was so obvious that I could do that and give donations. It was, and talk about it. It's not only about donating money. It's also about sharing stuff. Like I was making stories, and I was making posts, and I was sharing in my newsletter, and I was sharing stuff.
Yeah.
It's not always about giving money. It's also about spreading the word and shining light on it, because then the more people know about it, the more possibilities there is to raise money and possibilities of people getting involved.
And I love that example, because think about it. I mean, so it started with, I don't know how that woman heard about Operation Underground Railroad, but she might have, you know, heard from a friend or something else. But then she shares with Tony Robbins. And then do you know how many people have been introduced to Operation Underground Railroad because of Tony Robbins? It's I don't even, because it's so many. Even just this yesterday, so Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Tony Robbins raised money for Operation Underground Railroad with one of his business mastery programs, and they raised like $700,000 in 2 days. And there's just, it's amazing to see, you know, not all of us have the network that Tony Robbins has. Not all of us do. But then I've worked with so many people that learn from Tony Robbins, and then they invite their network and their friends to hear. And then I work with someone that is their friends, and it just grows and it grows and it grows. And so for those listening, every single one of you, you have a network, you have something to offer in this fight against human trafficking. And I guess my invitation to kind of close it out is, my invitation is to find out what it is that you can do. And there's so many awesome things. I know, and I'm not sure if we haven't talked for about a week, but I know, Anne, you were talking about doing, Anna Claire, you were talking about doing, creating a fundraiser online and stuff like that. And do you want to share a little bit about that? Yeah.
Yeah, the page is ready. So I will share it afterwards in the stories and in the post, and also on Facebook. So if you want to join me to donate, I made a fundraising page. The money goes directly to the association. It's all very ready. It's easy. So if you want to do it that way, then I'll share the link. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just, once again, I just want to let everyone listening know that, you know, I've been able to be on the front lines. I've been on the operations. I've met our survivors who are in Aftercare, and I can promise you that your money and your support is sacred to us. We believe it to be sacred, and we do our best to use it to rescue and to give hope and freedom to those who don't have any. And so I want to thank you, Anne Claire, and everyone who's listening. It's awesome. And I hope that you feel proud that you're a part of our team, because I'm proud that you're part of our team, and that we're all part of this cause.
Thank you. We can make a difference. We can change. Quite often I say, together we transform the world. And it can be a bit, some people say, Yeah, but yeah, we do.
It's true.
We do. Let's not be shy about it. So every day we can make a difference, and let's choose to do it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you. And it's so cool that you can be in France and I can be in, you know, the Western United States, and we can talk like this, and it's really a miracle. It's cool.
It is. Thanks. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Bye.
Bye-bye.